Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. And a very warm welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. What kind of Superman film will James Gunn give us? What kind of Superman film will James Gunn make? Will it be close to this one, the most successful Superman movie of all time, the most beloved Superman movie of all time, or the most divisive, which is Man of Steel? As you know, I like Snyder and I like the Snyderverse, but I totally understand where people are coming from who are triggered by Zack Snyder. I think the man happens to enjoy triggering people from the way I see it. I think James Gunn is definitely not going to go in the direction of Zack Snyder. I think that's obvious, or Henry Cavill would still be Superman. He's going in a direction all of his own. The truth is, he's not going to recite and copy and paste the Donner movie. And he's certainly not going to go down the direction of get your heads out of your ass. This is what Superman would do in the real world, which is exactly what the Snyderverse was. We've done the experiment, we've done the Snyderverse, we've done putting Batman and Superman in the real world, and quite simply in terms of profitability, it didn't work. And we're not going to do that again. Now, maybe one day the Snyderverse can be restored in an Elseworlds or something where they're not reliant on that DC property to bring home the bacon, and that's okay. That will make me very happy, because as I've already said, I love the Snyderverse, but I'm very sympathetic to people who don't like the Snyderverse. We live in a very interesting time in entertainment. James Gunn has promised to delete politics and science from DC and bring back love to DC movies, TV shows, and animation, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to give you the thrill you had when you saw the Justice League animated series, or the Justice League Unlimited series, or the DCAU movies. You know, he's going to give you that feeling you had when you first saw Superman the movie, or a DC movie you really loved. He's going to bring joy back to DC. And I think DC is desperate for love and joy, and not politics and science. We need to move away from not diverse, but divisive conversations. And that's what the Snyderverse brought to DC. Controversy, hatred, dividing audiences, and it didn't work. As I say, I love the Snyderverse, but I'm not totally fucking deluded. I understand what the Snyderverse did to the DC fandom. It split the fans. It did. Snyder can only make films the way Snyder wants to make them. Now, we've been through if he should have been put in charge of DC in the first place, whether he should have been making mainstream DC movies, because he doesn't make mainstream DC movies. So why is he making movies for a mainstream audience? It never made sense, right? It's happened. His movies exist, and if you love them, like I do, keep watching them, like I do. If you hate them, don't watch them, and watch and talk about what you love. It really is that simple. But James Gunn ain't going to go down anybody's direction. James Gunn is his own man. James Gunn was the only director at Marvel Studios, who did whatever the fuck he wanted. That tells you everything you want to know. I mean, he nearly killed off Gamora in Guardians 3. And, they told, Feige and everyone else told him not to do it. So, he's an interesting guy, Gunn. He's not perfect. I don't think he walks on water like some of you do. I don't wave his flag and think, oh yeah, well, DC's saved now. No. But I've enjoyed each one of his comic book pieces of content. Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Guardians 3, The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker were great. I loved them. I can't complain about what he's done thus far with comic book live action. Yes, his humour doesn't hit now and again. He's very passionate about commentary against animal cruelty. He did it in Guardians Volume 3 again. He did it in the Suicide Squad, and he did it in a really, really brilliant emotional way, and you totally get what he's saying here. You know, the reason the villain of the Suicide Squad is so angry, even though it's just a creature, is because of the way that animal, that being, was treated. And so I think I would rather a director who makes commentary against animal cruelty than telling me I'm a piece of shit because I was born a bloke. Do you get what I mean? I think Gunn's heart is in the right place. I do think he talks too much at times and digs himself a deep hole. But I think he's more of an everyday guy than people give him credit for. And I'm very, very open-minded about him at DC. I have my concerns, but I'm willing to be open-minded about the whole thing. And I know a lot of you would prefer me to be more open-minded and less negative. And if my negativity sometimes upsets you, I do apologise, but I have to be honest. I have to be myself. I can't pretend that I'm a shill when I'm not. I have to come at this as me. If you met me in the real world, this is Mick. These are the conversations we would have. It's as simple as that. And I'm sure you'd rather a genuine person talking to you via these videos than someone faking it up and being a bullshitter. I'm sure you appreciate the fact that I'm straight down the middle with you. If you piss me off, I'm going to tell you piss me off. If I agree with you, I'm going to tell you I agree with you. What you see is what you get, and that's very, very important. Now, James has said, you know, at least one or maybe more of his cast members from Guardians Volume 3 will be in Superman Legacy. I have no issue with this. I have no issue with him constantly casting his wife. I know Snyder fans are trying to hold that against him. So one of the things I've said, I'd love Karen Gillan to play Lois Lane. She's beautiful, she's talented, she's got red hair, everything that Lois Lane is, and she can play a modern day, independent, intelligent journalist because Lois is a very unique character and Karen Gillan is a very unique actor. Karen said she'd love to be part of the DC universe with James. She'd love to play Poison Ivy. I'm not saying she wouldn't make a great Poison Ivy. I also think she'd make an iconic Lois Lane. We will see who, you know, James casts in these iconic roles. But one thing's for sure, James likes to work with people he can trust. So I expect many, many people from Guardians, not just to be involved in Superman Legacy, but actually to be involved in his new DC universe in general. Now, his wife is already involved with that universe because she's part of the Suicide Squad franchise. Like it or not, she's there. She's a perfectly good actor. And if he wants her there, she's going to be there. So we can shout and scream and cry. He is in charge, you know, of DC live action creatively now. That's where we are. We have to go with it and see what he does. I know there's a lot of people who are never going to accept that, and there's some people that are really excited about that. Now, the first act that he's done to show us what his plans are the first part of his Gods and Monsters slate. Now, I'm going to be consistent and tell you that I really like that slate. I think it's a great slate. In terms of streaming, it's a great slate. And in terms of movie theatres, it's a great slate. You know, things like Brave and the Bold, the Batman movie, Superman Legacy, you know, Swamp Thing and things like that are very, very exciting. So I neither feel he's going to give us the Dick Donner Superman or the Zack Snyder Superman. He's going to be the James Gunn Superman. He's also said it won't be a comedy. Of course, it won't be a comedy. Superman is a bona fide, serious character. I'm sure there'll be gags and jokes in there. We'll see how he does. It does fascinate me what he's actually going to give us. Because we're going to find out how James Gunn sees these characters, how James Gunn sees movies. And I think that's a very, very exciting thing. We need someone to come in and sprinkle some fairy dust. Not that I think it's possible that you can magically make this stuff great, but I think you need someone who wants to bring love to DC. And someone who doesn't want to divide audiences, someone who doesn't want to be overly grounded. As I say, even though I love the Snyderverse, probably wasn't the bestest of ideas, was it? Either bringing Snyder in the first place or going that direction, even though I think his movies are great. Again, I understand, for those of you who don't think that's great, I totally get it. Why you wouldn't want to see Superman murdering someone, breaking someone's neck. It ain't really a thing you kind of think about when you think of Superman, right? But it's done. It's over. James Gunn isn't going to go down that direction, and we know he's spoken about Superman being hopeful and and things like that. So this is James Gunn's opportunity to give us his kind of vision of Superman. And he's going to write and direct it, so it's going to be his film. Everyone deserves to be able to imprint their vision on these iconic DC characters. And Superman's such a challenging character because many people have different ideas on who Superman is, and that's the challenge of iconic characters. One person will see Superman this way, one person sees it another way, and because of the Snyderverse, that clouds the issue, even more. But James is going to have to stop being triggered by the Snyderverse. He's already called them out for being a toxic fandom. A few weeks back when he first came into DC, reacting to fans in a negative way isn't the best of ideas. Listen, those fans are being tactical. They're putting pressure on James Gunn and seeing how much he can take. This is what they did to Sarnoff and Johns and Whedon, and they're not going to stop. They're there, and they're not going anywhere. The best thing James Gunn can do is do his thing, and we'll take it from there. And hopefully, as a Superman fan, what he does is absolutely brilliant, because it needs to be. As I say, him talking about not having politics as a thing and science as a thing, but love as a thing is very important. Love for something is very, very important. Hollywood used to be a magical place. I remember as a kid and a teenager and someone in their 20s, I used to watch films like Ghost and Field of Dreams and E.T., and I actually thought to myself, wow, the magic of Hollywood. How do they make films that make me feel so good and make me feel so deeply? This is what we've lost now, and we need that back, and DC desperately needs that back. And so this is why David Zaslav has brought in James Gunn, because he believes that James is a right person to do it. We are going to go into this universe. It's going to be a soft reboot, so it's not going to be the full reboot I think they should have done after Batman versus Superman. Yes, I believe that they should have done a full reboot after Batman versus Superman, considering they were going to fire Snyder and bring Whedon in anyway. A full reboot then would have been perfect, and we wouldn't be in the situation we are now. Yes, it would have been very early on in the process to say, right, BVS has come out, it's divisive, blah, blah, blah. We've got creative differences with Zack Snyder, and we're starting again, but at least it's honest. And at least it gives you a chance to do what you want to do. As a company, you should be able to go the direction that you want in. And if you feel the person you brought in is going down a direction that's hurting your company, then you have to honestly tell the public that you're parting company because of creative differences, and you're going to go into the direction you should have gone in the first place. And if they did, then we wouldn't be here now. Now, I wouldn't want to be without the Snyder Cut or BVS or Man of Steel, so I'm glad they exist. But it's time for DC to be DC. And this is James Gunn's opportunity to do that, to take something and make it very special, very bold, very great, very entertaining. We desperately need that. Because there's no question about it, DC's beloved by millions of people around the world. And it's been underserved in live action in recent years. 5 back-to-back flops for the DCEU, and there are so many. There's so many reasons for that. Mass boycotts, a lack of quality, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84. How many bad movies do you expect the audience to show faith to? It's not just about brand loyalty. That's the thing that DC doesn't have right now, brand loyalty. And the MCU is also starting to lose that brand loyalty since Phase 4. Brand loyalty was keeping the Marvel Cinematic Universe afloat for 3 phases. But then they rubbed the audience up the wrong way. And we've seen it with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That film should have been huge because they were introducing the Phase 5 villain. And it wasn't. Now, I don't think the numbers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 are terrible numbers. They're not record-breaking, really, or anything like that. I think the film will probably reach a peak of 700 million globally when all is said and done. But James Gunn's other volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy also didn't make $1 billion, and I don't expect this film to make $1 billion either. It doesn't prove superhero fatigue. There never was a superhero trend. There was a Marvel Cinematic Universe trend. They took liberties with the audience, and now that trend is dying out. And when you see people's reactions to Guardians Volume 3 and the love they have for James and his movie, it shows this is a huge loss for Marvel, that James has value. It doesn't matter if you're a Snyder fan or another fan or that fan. James is a good writer-director. He does make good comic book shit. He does. At the very least, you can say that James Gunn makes solid comic book stuff. If you don't want to say it's great, the best ever, I don't necessarily want to say that, but I want to say that I've at least enjoyed in a solid way everything he's done in terms of comic book movies and Peacemaker as well. What he does works. He's very good at what he does, and that's important because that's why he's there, to re-evaluate what's been done with DC. Take what they did well and then bring, put himself into this franchise and do, put his personality into it, which will be very, very important. Karen Gillan said that James Gunn is an actor's director. That also is very important. He's not just a co-CEO of DC Studios. He's a writer-director that people love. Not just the audiences that love his stuff, but the people that work with him. Now, what is an actor's director? Well, we have this term in the business where, sometimes actors can't find it, trying to find it. They've learnt their script, but they've got to execute it like they're really saying those words and feeling those emotions. And sometimes they can't do it. There's some directors like Quentin Tarantino, my man Quentin, who will say, "What the fuck was that?" That works for him. He doesn't admit, he doesn't pretend to be a nice guy, right? He is Quentin Tarantino. He gets the job done. He loves movies. I wouldn't say he's a perfect guy, right? It's like Jim Cameron. He doesn't pretend to be a nice bloke. Oh, James, did you really, why weren't you more compassionate when you were putting Kate Winslet in the cold water in Titanic? Because I wanted to get the job done, right? He doesn't pretend to be a nice guy. Now, me as a director, I'm a communicator. And if an actor isn't finding something, we're going to sit on some stairs or some stools somewhere around the set, and we're going to take some deep breaths until that actor can find it. We take our time and we put ourselves in a positive space, rather than saying, "Why aren't you getting this? What's your problem?" Sometimes it's difficult. It isn't just what's written down and you can act it. And that's the good thing about being an actor and a director. You kind of get both points of view. So that's what an actor's director is. And so James is beloved and respected by his cast of Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. People like James Gunn in the business. No, James Gunn isn't the Archangel Gabriel. He isn't a perfect human being. Guess what? There is no such thing. He, I'm sure, has been a problematic person. Think what you want about his historical tweets and some of the people he's associated with. That's up to you. But in life, it's important, if we're going to look down and judge other people, that we judge ourselves as well. I ain't perfect. You ain't perfect. But unfortunately, as human beings, we are judgmental and reactive sons of bitches. None of us are perfect. But who said we have to be fucking perfect? James Gunn is the guy running DC creatively, running the films, the animation, and the TV. He's got the job. He ain't gonna lose his job. The fire James Gunn hashtag is pointless. He'll only get fired if Superman Legacy doesn't make the money that Zaslav wants it to make. That is the season premiere of the new DC universe. It's what has to work. And if it doesn't, James Gunn will be out on his ear. There's no debate about that. And we're not there yet. We're nowhere near yet. Now is the positive moment where we get the castings, the posters. It's a damn Superman movie, everyone. You know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I remember growing up looking forward, to the marketing campaign for a Superman movie. I remember Superman Returns. I remember the marketing campaign for Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, before we all found out the movie was a piece of shit. But even though it was a piece of shit, Christopher Reeve was still amazing in that movie, and I still enjoyed his battle with Nuclear Man. So there's that excitement for a Superman fan, or a fan of anything, that build-up. So I'm excited to see what James does with the character I love the most. So now is a positive moment. We don't have to worry about box office yet. We just have to see what James Gunn is planning. Superman is the biggest character in fiction. He really is. There's no bigger character. And there is this element of carnival and excitement as we build up to his movie. We're just over 2 years away from the release of Superman Legacy. And as we know, the writer's strike will not affect it because James Gunn has already wrote the first draft. Now, clearly he can't write other drafts, but as I said before, there's ways around it. If James Gunn's happy with the movie he's written on script, then we can go forward. And plus, I don't really think this strike is going to go on and on and on. They're going to resolve it. The writers want to get paid more money, and the industry needs to make content. And they're not going to want to drag this out. So hopefully that gets sorted out sooner rather than later. You know, I have very deep, aggressive opinions about what the entertainment industry is today. You know, I despise a lot of the people in it. I don't necessarily think these people deserve more money. Not the untalented ones, not the ones that write in their scripts, I'm a straight white male, so I'm a piece of shit, right? The ones that change lyrics to famous Disney characters, right? And destroy, they're recreating, Disney animated stuff in live action, and they're shitting on it. So I don't like those activists that are in our industry today. But I'm a huge DC fan, and I believe that James Gunn is not one of those problematic people. As I say, clearly the man isn't perfect. Who is? I believe he's creative enough and passionate enough to do something that could work. And I'm going with that potential. And I will react to all the rumours and news we get about James and his plans for DC. Sometimes you're going to see me on here and on Twitter acting very, very positively like I am today and excited. But then I may hear something else. I may come on here and be negative. On here or on Twitter. About James's plans. About James himself. Sometimes I'm going to be going, I love James Gunn, he's just done this. Oh no, James Gunn, I've got this and that issue with him. That's the way a balanced individual works. I've done it already. When he was first announced for DC, I was like, hey! Then he fired Henry Cavill. Oh no, sorry, he didn't have a contract already, right? But he wasn't going to go with Cavill as Superman, and I was disappointed. I started getting a little bit more negative about James Gunn. It depends on what the news is, and I really can react to what I'm hearing. But he is here. I support him. There's a difference between supporting someone and being a shill. And I will never be a shill. I will be honest. As I say, I will react to the different, pieces of gossip, rumour and news we get about DC and James and Peter's plans for DC. Thus far, I think the plans are pretty good. Number one, the Gods and Monsters slate sounds fucking incredible. Now that's my opinion. There's some people who don't like the slate, who think it's unremarkable. I think Paradise Lost on HBO Max will be awesome. I've already said about the projects that excite me. There's not a project on there that doesn't excite me. I haven't mentioned the Supergirl movie. That sounds, very exciting. What is it? Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? That sounds very exciting, or whatever it is. And so I'm looking forward to actually getting Supergirl back on the big screen. Because as a small boy, after seeing the Helen Slater Supergirl movie, my heart was beating fast. I was in love. I had a crush on her. She was my hero. I was in a daze for like 4 days after I saw that movie. Hope I feel that way again, even as a 50-year-old dude. Supergirl is a valid superhero, but she ain't Superman in a skirt. She's her own character, and she shouldn't be replacing Superman in the Flash movie, but I support Sasha Calle because she's great in the role. That's not the point. I'm offended. This is not about Cavill, by the way. I'm offended that Superman isn't there when they're literally making a DC Universe movie. It's not just a Flash movie, it's a DC Universe movie, and that's what upsets me. But now James Gunn and David Zaslav and Peter Safran are there, and they are making a Superman movie. Superman is going to be the first project in the new DC Universe, and that is how important Superman is to them. James Gunn is there. He's not there to fail. He's there to succeed. He loves these characters. He wants to make these characters great. He's not our enemy. Just because you're a Snyder fan, it doesn't make James your enemy. Zack Snyder had 3 films. He had his chance to do his thing. And I hope he gets to finish what he started, because I love what he did. But he's had his opportunity, and now it's James's opportunity. He's in a very pressured position because he's making a Superman movie, and Superman's the biggest character in storytelling. He is, and very few people have been able to make a successful Superman movie. It's only been Dick Donner who's really made a top-level movie that's made money, record-breaking money, and really made people happy. And this is what James Gunn has to do. This is the challenge and pressure that James Gunn is under. And I say this every day, we're building up to this movie. This is what we're doing here on Movies TV Mag. This will be the general topic of conversation a lot of the time. And if that's boring to you, I'm sorry, but I am a Superman fan, and this is very exciting for me. I can't believe it. 50 years old, and yet again I get to look forward to another Superman movie. In my lifetime, we've had Superman the movie, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, Superman Returns, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder's Justice League, all movies involving Superman. And that's really exciting to me. So I've been overly spoiled. Not all the movies have been perfect with Superman in them, but there's always been excitement. And now I get excitement in the build-up of another movie. James Gunn is a really good writer-director. He's capable of getting this right. He's also capable of getting this wrong. But we go on this journey with him, and we see with every piece of news if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know yet. You don't know yet. You can wave your flag with James Gunn's face on it and say, oh my God, he got Guardians 3 right. Well, this is good news for DC. Well, look, you're not precogs, you're not Nostradamus, you don't know. We don't know how all this is going to go. But it doesn't mean we can't be excited. It doesn't mean that we can't forget the past with DC, that we can't move on. If you hate what Snyder did, move on from your hate. Let go, right? Just let go of it and move on. This is the next chapter. We have got a competent person running DC creatively now. I don't know if it's going to work or not going to work, but it's something truly exciting. This has been Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most to start your girlfriends and your wives. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. Smash the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. That's not how you say it, Mick. Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen. See you on Monday.